Good afternoon. I would like to start by asking a question. Raise your hand if you've ever heard disastrous things about climate change on the news before. Hands down. Now, raise your hand if you've ever felt hopeless or overwhelmed because you don't know what to do about it. Hands down. Thank you. I was 6 years old when I first learned about climate change in my elementary school classroom. I was 6 when I learned that my future is being burned to the ground and maybe unlivable. As I grew up and learned more about fossil fuels, deforestation, habitat loss, sea level rise, a fire was ignited inside of me. Why was I the one that had to bear the consequences of the older generation's mistakes? Why was my future compromised for their pockets? They told me to recycle, save water, turn off the lights, but it didn't feel enough. Humanity was on the brink of collapse, and I was supposed to prevent it by putting paper in a separate bin. Meanwhile, I was reading the news. The Paris Agreement, UN Sustainable Development Goals, these climate deals were kept getting delayed and delayed. Target goals were kept getting pushed back. I was confused, and I felt like I was swimming in uncharted waters where even the adults didn't know what to do. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who felt like this. Up to 60% of youth experience this thing called climate anxiety. For those who don't know, climate anxiety is our emotional response to these alarming headlines that seem to appear more and more frequently these days. It's the helplessness, the fear, the anger that we experience when we realize our future is looking more and more bleak. But as painful as these feelings may be, it's important to remember that we're human. We're hardwired to react to threats that pose danger to our livelihoods. When these feelings arise, it simply means that you care. You care for the world, you care for the people around you, you care for your children's futures. And that ability to care is one of the most powerful tools humanity has to combat the climate crisis. When I was in 8th grade, I decided I could not wait any longer. I was done drowning in fear and uncertainty while watching my future crumble to pieces. I was done waiting for the people in power to flip the switch. So I joined my local activism group. There, not only did I discover a group of like-minded, incredibly passionate youth, but I learned how to transform my climate anxiety into an instrument of change. Just a couple months in, I found myself on city council floors speaking to representatives before me, demanding the support of Senate Bill 1137. The bill mandated a 3,200-foot buffer zone between oil drilling sites and where people live, work, and play. Although Governor Newsom signed onto it in 2022, Big Oil spent millions on a referendum to prevent it from going into effect. In response to this outrageous violation of basic human rights, my group and I went from city to city to cultivate support, hosted and tabled at numerous events to encourage people to vote, and stayed on late-night calls multiple times throughout the week. And after months and months of dedication, we defeated Big Oil. In June of 2024, they dropped the referendum. Once I heard the news, the amount of pride I felt was indescribable. This was the first small step I'd ever made in my life to preserve my future. But on top of that, I'd realized I discovered a profoundly influential thing: hope. Some see hope as just something we desperately cling on to avoid facing the real problem. Others see hope for breaking down barriers and fuel for creating change. When I first joined Youth for Climate, I immediately noticed that my fellow youth had hope. They had hope despite having such an immense pressure to inherit a burning planet. And because they had hope, they did not stand on the sidelines, they acted. It was an active force that propelled them forward. And seeing that is what continues to inspire me each and every day.